So we've had Walter Isaacson on the show talking about Apple. We've had Stephen Levy on the show talking about Google. Both those guys are the great chroniclers of two of the great internet companies. And a third, Amazon, now has a chronicler. Brad Stone, the author of The Everything Store, already a bestseller. Brad, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Thanks, Andrew.
And congratulations already on the book. Brad, you spent 2 years of your life researching this. What's so interesting about Amazon and Jeff Bezos?
That's right. Well, actually, the books you mentioned were a good starting point for me. There have been great Google books and great Amazon books, and great Apple books and Google books, and in fact, some good Facebook books, and yet...
Yeah, Kirkpatrick, who's also been on the show.
Yeah, and I actually felt there have been some Amazon books, but nothing that kind of burrowed inside, that talked to the volumes of people that have left the company, the executives still at Amazon, to tell the great story of a company that has changed the way we shop and we read and the way internet startups operate now on Amazon Web Services. So, to me, it was kind of a market opportunity was the starting point. Can you write the great Amazon book that fits in the shelf with the other books you mentioned?
What as Jeff Bezos himself said to you, did you fall into the narrative fallacy? Did you oversimplify the story?
Well, I felt that maybe by discussing it and disclaiming it in the introduction, I could kind of proceed. My philosophy was talk to as many people as possible and weave all these disparate accounts, together in one narrative. I mean, look, it's a secretive company. It's a polarizing company.
To put it mildly, secretive,
right?
Paranoid.
And of course, probably ultimately every nonfiction account is simplified to some extent.
Well, Brad, let's fall into it. Let me make you liable for a very extreme narrative fallacy. In a minute, tell me about Amazon. Tell me its history in a minute.
Right. The story of Amazon is the story of three guys in a garage in Bellevue outside Seattle in 1994 that in 19 years grows to a company that employs over 100,000 people, that's disrupted the shopping, the world of retail, the world of reading, the world of enterprise software. It's a company of just remarkable growth, and one man who had a very expansive vision and an expansive mission that was dedicated to the vision and did not listen to naysayers and basically innovated his way out of every box that the company found itself in.
And who was that man?
Well, it's Jeff Bezos.
Why didn't he have a partner? Even Steve Jobs had a partner.
Well, actually, he did. The first Amazon employee is a man named Shel Kappan, and he is really the technical founder of Amazon, and he's there in the garage in 1994. And like a lot of these stories, the Apple story, the Microsoft story, their vision wasn't quite aligned. Kappan left in 1999. I think he really saw it more as a tool to disperse knowledge and tools, and Bezos wanted to create the everything store.
Brad, our audience is mostly an entrepreneurial audience. The Amazon story, what does it teach startup entrepreneurs?
I think there are a couple of lessons. One is stick to your vision. And Bezos, for however you feel about him, and people have different perspectives, had a mission of creating a customer-focused company. When it came to the Kindle, of making every book available for download, within 60 seconds. And he really stuck to his guns, even when the volume of naysayers was at its highest, 2000, 2001, where he was actually doing a lot of interviews when a lot of folks on Wall Street thought they were doomed. And he kind of stuck to the core principles. And then the second thing, I believe the big lesson is, for any company, really never stop innovating, because the internet, is so fast-paced and the pace of change is so high, and we've seen what has happened to the first generation of internet companies like AOL and Yahoo, perhaps eBay as well, which for a certain period of time stop inventing, and events overtake them. And Amazon really never did. I mean, from Kindle to AWS to Amazon Marketplace, the pace of invention has always remained consistently high, and I think it's one reason why among that first generation of internet companies, Amazon has managed to really succeed and to keep succeeding.
Many people, of course, associate Amazon as a bookstore, online bookstore, but it's much more, as you said, much, much more than that. Is there one key innovation, do you think, that took Amazon from being an online bookstore to this huge digital Walmart of the future?
Sure, I do. I think it's how they mastered the complexity of their logistics network, their fulfillment centers, these massive million-square-foot facilities that bring product from point A to point B, people's homes. No one ever figured out how to do that. In fact, Walmart ships to stores. eBay looked at Amazon warehouses in the 90s and said, we don't want to have anything to do with this mess. And Amazon went, and I account for in the book, went through a terrible time trying to get these things to work, had to close a fulfillment center, was shipping all of its employees from Seattle to the fulfillment centers during the holidays. It was a mess. But really, over the course of many years, they figured out how to they wrote all their own software, they customized everything in their fulfillment networks, and they figured out how to do it efficiently and to keep kind of wringing costs out of the system. And it is now the foundation upon which much of the company is built, from Amazon Prime to Fulfillment by Amazon. And it's a great lesson for other entrepreneurs about kind of solving the most complex part of your own operation.
I couldn't agree more. I use Amazon all the time, and I've never been let down. I bought hundreds of things on it. And had I been let down, particularly at the beginning, I might not have relied on it as much. Brad, there are still naysayers. There was a recent article suggesting that Amazon still isn't making money, that it's still an investment in the idea of the future. How do you respond to that?
I think they have been posting some recent quarterly losses, and in fact they lost money in 2012. To me, it's a sign of kind of dangerous health of the company. So basically, as we've seen in previous years, Amazon can be enormously profitable when it wants. Amazon Prime in particular is the kind of flywheel at the center of the company, turning customers into Amazon addicts. And there are a series of many of Amazon's older businesses that are doing quite well. What Amazon telegraphed to its shareholders about a year ago is that they were entering into another growth phase, investing their profits in new kinds of devices, new fulfillment centers all over the country, and new international markets. So while it kind of looks, to outsiders as if this is a company that maybe isn't so healthy, that is losing money, actually, they're so confident in the business, and in the success, the eventual success of kind of their model, that they're exponentially expanding in almost every possible direction. So, I think I'm not an investor or an analyst covering Amazon, but I think that they see a lot of opportunity and they're just going after it.
Brad, Fred Vogelstein, who I've got an interview coming up after yours, has made the argument that the big struggle in the future is between Google and Apple to become the dominant online media company. But surely Amazon will be a player there too. Surely Amazon must inevitably collide both with Google and Apple.
I think that, in this race to create ecosystems of devices and content, Amazon probably is the underdog. When you look at Apple and how it's mastered the art of creating these beautiful devices, and you look at Google with its incredible resources and the underlying Android operating system, they're both in very good positions. And then you have Amazon coming in kind of from this other angle, forking the Android operating system, getting into the business of creating hardware where it really doesn't have a lot of indigenous expertise. I think it's probably right to say they're kind of a wild card, but I would never count Amazon out. Because one thing that Bezos does really well is weave together lots of small advantages and innovations to create kind of a larger set of strengths. And that's what he's doing with the Kindle Fire, and the Kindle kind of authoring tools, and he's investing in content, and he's hooking it into Amazon Prime. Lots of little advantages, and he's weaving a chain of bigger advantages and giving people a reason to buy Kindle Fire tablets and maybe one day phones and set-top boxes.
So Brad, as we look ahead, we all stare into our crystal ball. Your crystal ball is probably a bit more transparent than most people's when it comes to Amazon. What are the key decisions that Bezos has to make in the next few years? Is it about coming out with a phone? Is it going into different markets?
I think, those are probably two big ones. The question is, to what extent do they want to invest in these new opportunities? And is there a kind of possibility that they might get out too far ahead of themselves in funneling the profitable aspects of the business into some of these untested opportunities? So international is a great example. How fast do they expand? There are markets like Russia where there's clearly an opportunity for Amazon to come in with a retail website. But the shipping infrastructure is immature. Credit card processing is immature. It's not quite clear how receptive some of these markets will be. But on the other hand, there are already kind of local, homegrown Amazon-type operators there that maybe might be a little expensive to acquire or to compete against in the future. So they have to make a lot of decisions all around the world in terms of international expansion. And then hardware, I think, is another good one. To what extent do they rush out with a Me Too Amazon phone, or do they wait for a time when maybe they have something more interesting, but at the same time the market might be more saturated?
Final question, Brad. The future of Jeff Bezos. It seems to me that if there is someone to compare him with in the past, it's Bill Gates. Do you think we could see a second coming of Bezos? Do you think he might get bored eventually with Amazon and go and do something else? Because he's obviously a man with remarkable amount of energy and enthusiasm.
No doubt. I think there was a chance of that happening about a decade ago when he had already minted a fortune and had some senior leaders there at Amazon that were capable of operating the company. But then he clearly decided to re-engage, that the Amazon mission still interested him, that he had a lot to achieve. And I don't see any signs of him stepping back. Right?
So in 15 seconds, what does he still want to achieve at Amazon?
Well, I think
world domination.
Perhaps he wouldn't account for it that way. I think the world's most customer-centric company. But honestly, it's to really.
Isn't he already the world's most customer-centric?
I think
company?
The real goal is to create the everything store, to get to full product selection. He's got a lot of work to do with groceries and apparel, and to fulfill the international expansion.
Well, the everything store may be in the future for Jeff Bezos, but it's here now on your bookshelves. Brad Stone, the author of The Everything Store, Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon. Congratulations, great book, and we'll look forward to having you back on the show, TechCrunch TV, very soon.
Thank you, Andrew.